or any other part of the human body, all North America knows it just as quick as science and electricity can bring the news to us. When North America has made a discovery, the European nations know all about its merits because we are all of their blood. To be an Englishman, German, Scotchman, Frenchman, or any other educated nation is to expect intellectual progress. It may be that the whole masses are not Galileos, Washingtons, nor Lincolns, but now and then a Fulton, a Clay, a Grant, an Edison arises, or some unchained mind moves against tradition, but with unerring philosophy. It is our fortune at this time to raise our heads above the muddy water far enough to have a glimpse of the law that we choose to call the divine law. That law we use in healing. We have traced it by reason, by philosophy, under the microscope, in the light and in the dark, and we hear a response. That response is so intelligent, its answer is correct, so correct that a man is forced to believe there is knowledge behind it. We have houses much larger than this all over the civilized world. People congregate there every seventh day in the week for some purpose. Ask them why they assemble there every Sabbath, and their answer is, to speak of or give a token of respect to the Creator of all things, or that intelligence commonly known as God. Now, since I have given you the size of osteopathy at the present day on the globe, I will give you a contrast. If I am a speaker at all, I want to prove it by comparison. I want to show you just how large osteopathy was in the world 22 years ago. One man who has the reputation of being the finest mechanic possibly in the whole state of Missouri said to me then, "I wish you would go and see my wife." I went with the gentleman. I felt very timid because I didn't know how little sense he had, nor how much. I had seen a glimpse of what I considered the very candle of God himself, lighted and sustained by the oil of reason. The speaker said, "Now, Mr. Harris, if you will arise, I will show this people just the size of osteopathy then." Mr. Harris appeared on the platform. If you examine this man and are a philosopher, you will see in him a mechanic. If you are a doubting Thomas, just take your old shotgun to him and he will put it in order and prove his skill. This is the gentleman who first said, "Plant that truth right here." He was osteopathy's first advocate in Kirksville. I said after a long conversation with him, "Mr. Harris, let me ask you one question. Why is it, in your judgment, that people are so loath to believe a truth?" He said, "Dr. Still, in my opinion, a man dreads that which he does not comprehend." That was his answer 22 years ago, and that is the reason osteopathy is not accepted by the masses and is not adopted by every man and woman of intelligence today. A man dreads to give up his old boots for fear the new ones will pinch his feet. We have gone from generation to generation imitating the habits of our ancestors. I am as independent as a wolf when he knows the dog got the strychnine. The reason why I'm independent is that when I see the deltoid or any other muscle in position and working in conformity to the laws, I feel able through osteopathy to look at Saturn as a small corpuscle of blood in the body of the great universe. When I look at the Earth and the Moon and take the solar system, I find that the directing mind has numbered every corpuscle in the solar system, and each one of them comes in time, no mistakes. Whenever you see a man who's afraid of a comet, you find a man who's ignorant on that very point. Do you suppose God himself is going to allow one of his planets to get drunk and butt its brains out against this Earth? Hasn't he counted the space for every planet to sail in? Are we following the old Grecian ideas of 2,000 years ago that the sun is making noodle soup out of comets for supper? I want to tell you that I worship a respectable, intelligent, and mathematical God. He knows whether the Earth is going too fast or not. He didn't ask your papers to publish that he had better push the Earth a little faster to let that comet go by. None of his children disobey, get drunk, or lose their minds. I make this assertion from the confidence I have in the absolute mathematical power of the universal architect. I have the same confidence in his exactness and ability to make, arm, and equip the human machine so it will run from the cradle to the grave. He armed and equipped it with everything necessary for the whole journey of life to a man 70 years. The minister has often said, "And it pleased God to take the dear child. It didn't do any such thing. It pleases God when he makes the child that it dies in the service for which he made it, from which he made him. When he creates a man, he doesn't create him to fertilize the earth while still a babe. He brings him into existence to live on and on, and endows him with sense plentiful enough to suffice for all its demands, and he is expected to use it. We take up osteopathy. How old is it? Give me the age of God, and I will give you the age of osteopathy. It is the law of mind, matter, and motion. When 4 of my family were attacked with that dread disease, cerebral spinal meningitis, I called in a number of the most learned medical doctors of the land, gave them full power to fight the enemy as they chose, to use any and every means to capture the enemy's flag and put him to flight. When the doctors gave the command to charge, I looked to see the disease run up the white flag, but the smoke was dense, and the cannon ceased to fire on both sides. When the smoke cleared away, the enemy had all our flags and the children captive. The doctors joined the procession of mourners and said, "Death is a rule, recovery the exception." At the close of that memorable combat between sickness and health, life and death, I gave the generals of drugs a belt of my purest love. If men ever fought honestly and earnestly till all fell in the ditches, I believe they did. They wept not as Alexander, who had conquered and had no more to do, but they had met an enemy whose steel was far superior to their own. With me they wept and said, "We have no steel worthy of this, or any great or small engagements." From that hour until the present, I have seen the ability of nature to do her work, if we do our part in conformity with the laws of life. Since we stacked arms to the relentless weapons of disease, a new thought has been my companion for years, by day and night, and after this manner. That disease is the culmination of effect, and its cause lies in the choice of birth. If to be a child of misery it sought conception from the wound of the sensory nerves, if to be of great stupidity, its conception and birth must be of the motor nerves. The first child is neuralgia of all forms and cries with pain. The second child is paralysis of all forms. It is stupidity and death. To produce death of either child, you must disgorge the womb before motion develops the child to maturity. If not, it may be a deadly enemy to life and motion, all of which you diplomats of osteopathy know full well how to do and give nature the ascendancy.